Good afternoon. On Monday, June 22nd, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been the site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. With that, we'll call the meeting to order, and we've got for the approval of the agenda, it's been recommended that we move 9.3 up to 9.1. Is everybody in agreement for that? So nodding heads. And also I'd request that we split for 9.2 into a 9.2A and 9.2B because I've got a conflict with one of the properties on the list. So if there's consensus for that, I will participate for all of them, but one. So seeing nodding heads for that, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that the June 22nd, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting agenda be approved as amended. All in favor? And that is carried. So that will take us to any disclosure of pecuniary and or conflict of interest and general nature thereof. Councillor Robinson.
I'm going to declare two tonight because I don't know where the conversation will go with the annual report. And on 9.3 that we just made into 9.1, 9.2 on the OPP costing, because my daughter-in-law is the chief.
Thank you. And I'm going to declare on 9.2B for 102 Brockville Street. Any other disclosures? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that the minutes of the June 8th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting be approved as circulated? All in favor? That's carried. We've got two delegations tonight. We'll start with Mr. Reid, the MP for Lanark Frontenac Kingston.
Thank you very much. Thank you for agreeing to have me here tonight. Before I start, I have to ask a question that I should have asked about before. How long ought I to take? What ought my...
If you could keep it to 10 minutes, that would be great.
Okay, all right. I should be able to do that. We'll see where... Is it okay if Q&As are...
Yeah, that'd be outside the...
Okay, all right. Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah, so I've got really 4 topics I'd like to talk about with you. 2 of them I can get through very quickly. 2 of them I think will take more time. The topics are... first of all, outdoor save stations. I want to talk a little bit about that. Secondly, and thirdly, 2 very brief discussions of rail-related issues. One is the Chambers Street underpass or subway. The second one being the ongoing issues with the blocking from time to time of Carroll Road when freight trains stop for crew changes. And then the last one, which would take considerably more time, is the issue of Alto, where I wanted to put a cautionary note in about the town's resolution in favor of Alto and of getting a stop here. So let me start with the discussion of outdoor save stations. It's now been 24 years since I first became involved in the purchase and distribution of defibrillators in our community, starting way back in 2002 with a defibrillator that I donated to the Ocean Wave Fire Company in Carleton Place, and we've distributed numerous ones since that time. 2005, was involved in a charity golf tournament which raised money that was used to purchase the defibrillators that are now in the Smith Falls police cruisers, or more correctly, to distribute the defibrillators that were replaced 10 years later, which have been recently replaced again. And I've had the privilege of being involved in all 3 generations of defibrillators in police cruisers here in Smith Falls. I've also attempted to get defibrillators into OPP cruisers with much less success, and RCMP as well. Every every year I stand up and give a statement in the House of Commons where I point out how many lives would have been saved nationwide if RCMP cruisers would have defibrillators installed in the way Smiths Falls police cruisers had installed. City of Ottawa police cruisers, City of Kingston police cruisers, City of Toronto police cruisers. And you can, based on the save rates from some of these jurisdictions, it's possible to calculate that you have one save per annum for every 17 installed AEDs in police cruisers. That would obviously vary from time to time, and that's based on one police force in particular, but the numbers are somewhat similar. OPP, we actually got the OPP detachment or police services board in the county to agree to advocate it this year to OPP Central Command in Orillia. And same thing with Frontenac, but we've heard that they will not accept the defibrillators because they are working on a pilot project of some sort. So maybe they'll get them there. The RCMP is, again, I'm mystified as to why they are so resistant. I calculate that you could save 300 lives per annum by having AEDs in every RCMP cruiser. So if someone here can figure out how to cause me to cause those two giant police forces to change their minds, you will be helping in an enterprise that will save many, many lives. But ask your police chief here when she gets up to speak later on, if you wish, about the AEDs and the Smiths Falls cruisers. They have been used effectively for 2 decades. They do a lot of good. Why am I saying all of this? Because as we deal with putting defibrillators in various places, many of the logical indoor spaces have been taken. Many of the logical spots in moving vehicles, not the police cruisers in all cases, but certainly paramedics have them, fire departments have them, which wasn't true 24 years ago. The logical place to save lives now, to have the biggest impact, is to move them outdoors. Put them in outdoor save stations. You can put one in a heated unit. We know exactly how this works. The pioneering work in Smiths Falls was done by Commander Steele from your paramedic force, from the Lanark paramedics, who had one installed on the outside of her house to make the point about how they work. But if you go to many countries around the world, I recently was in Italy and saw on streets, every so often there would be a post sticking into the ground, similar to what you'd see for a parking meter, and on top of it, a heated cabinet with a defibrillator inside. You open the door, the alarm goes off, the defibrillator can be used to assist. And there is a movement, I guess I should say, here in Canada to do the same thing. It's an initiative that was started by a group of mothers in southwestern Ontario after one of them had a 16-year-old son who suffered a fatal heart attack outside of his high school, while practicing soccer with his friends on a Saturday. He had a congenital heart condition about which his parents had known nothing until the fatal moment. And even though they could see, he and his friends could see the defibrillator inside the high school locked entrance, they couldn't get at it. So moving defibrillators to the outside of buildings that are locked from time to time can potentially save lives. I think it is the lowest hanging fruit to making a difference. And on that basis, with the assistance of the Lanark County Paramedic Service, which has pointed to different locations, we think that there are a number of places where it could make a difference. One such place, I would say, is somewhere in the downtown core of Smiths Falls. The obvious spot from my perspective would be actually on the outside of this building. But I could be convinced, based on those who know the details of where there is foot traffic in downtown Smiths Falls, what the right place would be. At any rate, I would like to assist in making that happen. I've been putting aside money every year through a program I've had since 2002 of setting aside the annual $25,000 pay increase. We voted ourselves way back then. And the money is, some of it's being used, some of it hasn't been used, and this seems like a logical use for some of it. So that's an open offer to you, which I'd be happy to discuss if you choose to discuss it. How much time did I just use on all of that?
We're about 7 minutes.
Oh wow! Okay, so I'll deal with the two quick issues. Carroll Road. Look, rail is federal jurisdiction. The blockage there, if the town would pass a resolution saying we would like to change the way in which the crew changes occur, if it was done slightly down the road a bit, where the Carroll Road would not be blocked, this could eventually have life-saving benefits. I'd be happy to convey that on. You could convey it directly to the transport minister yourselves. The second one is with regard to the subway or underpass on Chambers Street. That is, everybody knows it's a mess. There's been a dispute as to who ought to be paying for what. Again, I'm your federal member of parliament. Rail is federal, and you could pass a resolution similar to the one you passed on April 22nd regarding Alto. And to the transport minister, I might be able to have some ability to help you in this. Now, I mentioned the April 22nd letter to the transport minister. Just by coincidence, it's 2 months today, because I think the town made a very big mistake in passing this. I recognize the theory that if Alto comes through, having a train station would obviously be preferable to not having one, all things being equal. But I don't think all things are equal. And I wanted to draw your attention, and I've brought along a number of documents to make this point, to how Alto is likely to be funded. Alto, I think everybody knows that Alto involves colossal dollars and some very optimistic estimates about how it's going to be financed. $60 to $90 billion estimated costs, but Minister McKinnon indicated recently that $90 billion should not be regarded as the top cost estimate to build it. There's no structure at all for explaining how it'll run, its costs to run. And there have been independent academic studies of this which have suggested that one way of assisting to cover the costs of constructing this thing and running it is through a process known as land value capture. I don't know if that name means anything to everybody in the room, but if it doesn't, land value capture is a process by which expropriation is used to take a significant amount of land near a project like a rail project in order to capture the increased value that occurs when the rail project is installed. It was used very successfully in Hong Kong to put around a number of railway stations for their municipal subway. The result was to largely cover the costs associated with that subway. And so the model has been advocated for a number of places, for the proposed high-speed East Coast Railway along the eastern coast of Australia, for example. And it has been advocated for the Alto project. So the Transport Research at McGill Institute has a paper, and just a 2-page long paper, which I'll leave for distribution, arguing that high-speed rail in Canada cannot break even unless land value capture is engaged in. I have a presentation there to the Senate Transport Committee by the Director of Infrastructure at the Geography and Planning Department of the University of Toronto, Matti Siamatki, I think I pronounced that right, arguing that land value capture should be considered. And I've got a paper by the Alto HSR Citizen Research Initiative called Acquiring the Neighborhood, describing about how Alto would use land value around stations and rail yards. So Smith Falls Council advocated for putting a station here and potentially a rail facility. The danger is that Alto will answer your request and will do so by expropriating the land around the proposed station and then reselling it at a profit afterwards. One final note about this, there's a paper I have here. This was passed on to me. It was gotten through access to information. It's a proposal from back in April 2024, which discussed what Alto would look like. It includes a map. In this case, it's a map of near the Ottawa Via station, which was almost certainly where an Alto station would go if Alto was in fact built, showing a local neighborhood that has been replaced by a series of buildings. I realize that at this distance you won't be able to see what's going on, but this is the actual present day station. There's a series of roads that are numbered or lettered streets, N Street, O Street, P Street, and so on, which have a working class neighborhood. This is all currently being replaced by a series of apartment buildings. And this is in the context of a discussion of the merits of land value capture. So I think that is the danger here. And I think you'd be well advised to just be careful about what might be in store for you. So I'll just leave it there and turn things over for any questions anyone might have.
Great, thank you. Questions? Marpenko.
Thank you, MP Reid. I just want to circle back to the defibrillator discussion and a public access point outside. So you mentioned a desire or willingness to help. So would that be a provision of a defibrillator and sort of the cost of that and the cost of the entire setup, a pedestal to put it on, the wiring hooked up to it, or how would all that work? Because I see merit, obviously, and I understand most of these are, I guess they're all pretty straightforward methods of using. They'll structure you, walk you through the whole process. If it comes down to a situation where you've got a citizen grabbing it and wanting to use it, how would it work?
Well, the cost of one of these things is much higher than the cost of a defibrillator. So a defibrillator is somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000, a little bit more than that once you factor in the cost of a maintenance program. When I give defibrillators for various uses, putting into say a community hall or a senior center, something like that, the arrangement we have is I contribute 50% and the local group contributes 50% of the cost. In something like this, I don't know exactly what the right cost model would be, but it wouldn't be 100%. I do think that for the same reason that insurance companies insist on some kind of co-payment, I would want to have the same thing. But yeah, I mean, I haven't got an exact number to throw at you. I would actually like it to be, quite frankly, percentages. And part of the reason for that is some kind of regulatory approval is necessary for this, and regulations can make things much more expensive. So if that happens, I'd like to make sure that the regulatory body, which is you guys, are also having strongly incentivized to keep the costs that are imposed by regulation as low as possible, right? You've got to install wiring to go into power and so on. But look, this is meant to be an act where I'm trying to help out and reduce costs for you. So I certainly would expect that I'd be paying 50% anyway.
So I guess maybe we can follow up with staff and the two can connect and see about the merits of this and how it could happen and cost and all those factors. Because again, I agree. If it saves one life at one point in time, it's a very worthwhile investment. So, and then regarding the Carroll Road crossing, that has not been on our radar before, but I appreciate that it does occur from time to time. Has there been discussions with CP about just changing how they make their shift changes, or where is this at?
I haven't raised it with them, but others have, and have said, look, instead of stopping here at the rail yard, just go a little further. There's a maximum legislated length on trains. So when a train stops and it's not the legislated maximum, Carroll Road isn't blocked. When it is blocked, it's not blocked by many cars, but it doesn't take, it just takes that last car to block the road, and that's it. So if they went down, and
White's Crossing.
White's Crossing. If they stopped at White's Crossing and a taxi were sent down to pick up the new crew and drop off the old one, or drop off the old crew, pick up the new one, whatever, that would eliminate the issue. So that I think that's all that's required. But some kind of resolution indicating you're supportive of that would be helpful, I think. And I'd be happy to assist with wording. I think it'd be even more helpful if it was yourselves and the township as well, just because you're both expressing the same desire.
Yeah, has Montague Township taken a position on it?
They haven't at this point, but I've also
Okay.
haven't gone and spoken to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, thanks very much. The Chambers Street underpass has been an issue for 50 years. Now, staff are on top of this one now. It's become the communities, we're all interested in seeing what could be done. And I know that we've made good progress from staff in talking to the right people there. And I welcome your offer of assistance, and staff, I don't think would hesitate to reach out if they felt some advocacy or if there were doors not opening. But the file is active, and from my understanding, we're having dialogue. So
That's good to hear.
that is good to hear.
Councillor Quinn?
Just would like to thank you for coming. It's nice to have your presence here. It's nice to hear your opinions, and it's nice to know we can reach out to you. And that's wonderful, and I thank you.
Thank you.
I think the rail crossing at Carroll Road, I've been stuck there for a while, and it definitely doesn't meet the Transport Canada guidelines for standards for that, for blocking a crossing. So yeah, if there's something more coordinated, or if there's something we can do to help with that, I think it'd be great. If there's things that you could do to help us with the Chamber Street underpass, because that also seems to be a roadblock, that would be great. One question I've got isn't on the list of 4, but regarding Parks Canada and the Rideau Canal Museum, we've got the 200th anniversary of the Rideau Canal coming up. Parks Canada closed the museum several years ago, and now they're beginning to liquidate artifacts. And there was never an announcement or never a formal any opportunity for the community to speak out against this, or any explanation of why it's happening. Is that something that your office can take on and try to figure out? Because it doesn't seem like the town ever gets much traction when Parks Canada throws their weight around.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Parks Canada is actually quite an insensitive. Some bureaucracies are more sensitive. Parks Canada would be one of the ones that is less sensitive. Anybody who's dealt with water level issues knows that experience. But yes, it is an area we could try weighing in. It's a little unfortunate. I wish I'd had this conversation with you this day last week, because we could have still submitted what's called an order paper question to inquire about internal discussions, and have gotten it filed before the House rose for the summer, which means when we got back in September, we'd have at least some kind of additional information. But we'll take it, if I may use this term, take it under advisement and do that as soon as the House comes back in the autumn. We can do other things too, but that's certainly one thing, to see what they're saying internally about it. And my guess is they are, not announcing it because you announce with fanfare when something good is happening, and you quietly deal with things that are less good.
Thanks. Seeing no other questions, comments, appreciate you coming tonight. It's great to have a dialogue. And
May I leave copies of?
for sure.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So with that, we'll move on to 6.2, the 2025 Smith Falls Police Service Annual Report with Chief Jody Yempe.
Good evening. I see the temperature hasn't dropped much in here. Actually, to MPD Reed, sorry, before you leave, when you spoke of the railway crossing, I don't know if anyone's spoken to Via Police. We're in contact with the chief of Via Police as well as CP Police. So I'm not sure if they're aware of this issue, but happy to provide the contact if, I know it's not in our area, but.
I would love that.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
thank you.
Yep, I'll send it your way.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for the opportunity. I know I've got a little group with me here of civilian staff. Great team members that we have, and a lot of new faces too. So it's actually nice for them to listen to a council meeting. We're highlighting our annual report, as well as obviously they're interested in the next agenda item, but certainly like to highlight what we do and what we've done in the last year and the growth that we've made. I think we've come a long way, and if you'll see the list of employees, I'm definitely the oldest now. Used to be the youngest, but our annual report will be going public shortly. It'll be online, and I'll have copies available as well for anyone that wants a copy. They can just email the police service, or we'll leave some here at Town Hall. But we usually don't make a lot of copies because it is available online, and we don't want to waste paper, but certainly is available. So if we just skip through just to kind of highlight our mission, vision, and values. We updated this a couple of years ago when I became chief, with our mission and is in partnership with our community. I think that's very important, to be in partnership with our community to ensure the safety and security of all persons and property within the town of Smith Falls. Our vision is to continue to create a positive environment within our community by inspiring public confidence, accountability, policing, and providing safety and security for all. Our values is respect, professionalism, and community leadership. And our motto has always been community first and will continue to be. I think that's very important for a small police service to be community first. Our organization is fairly simple. We have the Smith Falls Police Service Board that governs the police service. We have a board secretary to my right. She's a jack of all trades. Then you have the chief of police. You have an administrative assistant who's, oh, I thought she was present here. I just saw blonde and it's Carly. We have chief of police. We have the administrative assistant. Deputy chief is in charge of operations. And then we've got operational support. We have the criminal investigative branch. We have drugs, intelligence, identification, breathalyzer training. And we have a partnership with the intelligence CISO across the province. We have a staff sergeant that oversees our sergeants and then our platoons. So we have a platoon structure of 4 platoons. We have a sergeants that oversee those platoons. And then we have a civilian supervisor that looks after the civilian support. We have a special constable, and we hired a part-time that's going to be starting once she's done training. They go through an intensive 3-week training program. We found the value. We started the special constable program, and I'm sure all of you have seen Ashley everywhere in our community. She's been a valuable asset to the front lines. She helps support the officers, but not just the community service portion, but she looks after a lot of internal things, health and safety. She's looking after for me. She's getting everything straightened out in the property rooms because property is is important for us to be compliant with our property standards. She also helps out in the comms too, and she delivers the subpoenas, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of December of this year or last year, we had a strength of 32 uniform officers, right from myself to recruits. Out of those numbers, 5 are off on workplace safety insurance board and 1 officer is accommodated on light duties. We have 6 full-time civilian employees. 1 is the executive administrator to the chief and deputy. Out of those 5 full-time civilian, 1 is off on long-term disability. The others moved into a crime analysis position, which is supported by one of our grants, which I'll highlight later. And we also have a full-time civilian staff that works in a supervisory capacity that oversees the comm center, looks after all of our freedom of information requests, court supports, as well as provides backup support and calls for service. And then again, our part-time special constable, and part of her salary recoveries from a court security grant that the municipality applies for, we do on behalf of the municipality. And we have 3 part-time communicators, but they not only provide extra coverage for us, but they also look after all of our data downloading. We have a protocol with the Crown Attorney's Office to ensure that we download all of our video evidence, so statement taking, we have in-car cameras in the cruisers, so all that evidence has to be downloaded and supplied to the Crown Attorney in a short period of time. So they certainly help out with us. To go with the Police Services Board diversity plan, we do have a complement of 7 females, 25 males. We have languages that are spoken are French and English, and 4% of our staff has an Indigenous background. In our statistics for this year, our recruitment team decided to do female first responder only run. The shuttle run seems to be an issue for a lot of recruits, male and female, and getting to level 7. It's one thing that you have to pass in order to go any further in policing. And they were quite successful with that recruitment campaign. They hired 2 females this last round of recruits out of over 22 applicants. They were by far the strongest out of all the applicants that they interviewed. So I was happy to see that. At the police college this past ceremony, there was 19% of females represented of the entire police college of over 500 recruits. So it is important to have that diversity plan in place and have great men and women that we work with. Technology is coming a long way with policing, and I'll highlight that further. Proactive patrol and enforcement is one of the things that we're very proud of. We have a 24/7 patrol uniform presence accessible in our building and in our community. And that's very important to me. I think of one incident off the top of my head where one of our dispatchers, I noticed that there was a person that was in crisis right in front of our police station and was attempting suicide. And that dispatcher saved that person's life. The officers responded quickly. So in my time, I never want to see a police service close. I want it to remain open 24/7. And we have a lot of our civilian staff here that do so much more than dispatching. They do a lot of the digital evidence management, and they support of officers, but they also know exactly where officers are going. They know the location of where the officers are going, and they also know by pinging phones and emergency contacts, they can get through to save someone's life. So our civilian staff are just as important as our officers. So in 2025, we responded to 7,746 calls for service. We were lower than in 2024, but the Community Safety Policing Act that came in 2024 and earlier, the management of cases and major crimes and major cases have increased the level of the data inputting that we need. And in 2025 alone, our intimate partner cases went up 25%, which is not what we'd like to see, but that's our more serious cases. And so therefore we need more resources to help with that rise in our more serious crimes. So whether you'll see our officers on foot, on bikes, and day and night, they also in winter time they'll do ride programs. We don't have a snowmobile, but they will be in the trails in our areas doing ride programs on snowmobiles and on the ATV trails as well. So they also will do ride programs at the boat docks as well, to make sure that if they're coming through on boats, that they're not impaired by alcohol. What do we have next here? Grant or police expenditures. So 2025, I was under budget by quite a bit, and this was because of certainly not anticipated. So whenever we do a budget, we do the budget based on what we are forecasting for the next year. I can't predict what kind of grants I'm going to be successful with. And we also have salary recovery, paid duty recovery that we also don't predict. And I was very successful with grant funding in the 2025 years. So our surplus was $345,952. I need my glasses. So that we were under budget for that reason. And the next page explains of all of our grant reporting that we do. So grants run usually from March to the following April of the following year. So there's only one grant opportunity that runs from January to December. So this highlights all the grants that we were successful with. NG 911 is going to be implemented by the end of the summer. That was been a 4-year long-term grant. But I was very successful with the Community Safety and Policing grant. We received almost $300,000 alone, and that supported Lanark County Interval House, Restorative Justice, the Downtown Business Association, Chamber of Commerce, and focused on resources targeting organized crime and theft in our businesses. It also focused on intimate partner violence, sexual assault, victims of violence, and human trafficking workshops with all of our partners. So very successful grant. The proceeds of crime grant supported the RNJ Youth Services and Big Brothers with some of the programs that they do. The Well Crisis Response Team, the RMCERT teams made up of 2 nurses and social workers. They work collaboratively on the front lines, and our total funding for that was $240,000 over 2 years. Our victim support grant, year 1 was $150,000, and then year 2 was $346,000 over 2 years. Our ride grant went up as well because of more staff that we have available, and its total $45,508. So our Criminal Intelligence Service Ontario, the CISO, we're proud to partner with them. It's an important intelligence-led policing across the province. That funding supports money towards a vehicle and a project that with a crime analysis. So it allows us to do some more numbering and analysis on the crimes that are going on in our community. And then just to highlight our communications center about calls for service. Technology and critical infrastructure talks about our automatic license plate readers that we have in the cruisers. Hopefully in the future, we will have body worn cameras. They're quite an expense to have, but they are an important one. It was one that I touched on with the board last year, but you need that civilian support in order to then have your body worn cameras, because all the data from your body worn cameras have to be downloaded by somebody, and officers don't have the time to do it. So civilian staff, now that we have our numbers, hopefully in the future we can look at body worn cameras for the police officers. I think that it'll add that extra layer of transparency and assist in court process and assist with complaints as well, because I know the in-car cameras certainly help with any complaints that we do receive from the public. Okay. We started a CamSafe program. So it's a province-wide security camera registry. So all it does, it has nothing to do with police accessing cameras. All it is a registry to tell the police, I have a camera in my house. This is where I'm located, so that when we do canvassing, if there's a crime in that area, we know who to reach out to that has cameras in our community. And then, of course, there's about 4 pages of community engagement. Sean is our community service officer, but all of our officers, every single one of them that are in this room, visit a school on their shift. That's part of their regular duties, that they go and visit a school on their recess, or it's just a positive interaction at schools. Happy to say we've never had any complaints from the Catholic District School Board here or Upper Canada to have police in their schools. And it's just a friendly face that kids get to see, and not as traumatizing as sometimes the only time kids get to see us is in a domestic situation or in their homes in the middle of the night, and it's not fun. So it's nice for our officers to go and visit. And yes, Sean can dance. I understand the powwow. He was quite the dancer at the powwow. So. So just having that positive interaction with people shows just the people behind the uniform. And that's why it's nice for them to come, because we're not just about money and budget. We are human beings that have dedicated our lives and careers to serving the community of Smith Falls. And it's important to see the men and women that work hard for this town. Our Yippee program was a success. We're doing it again. I was successful with the grant funding for 4 students. Sean and Derek Dewey, Constable Dewey and Constable Keoghan and Special Constable Ferrier looked after all the interviews. So they've chosen 4 new people that sound great to have in our community, and they're excited to start. And I think they're starting June 29th or 30th next week. So they'll be here for Canada Day activities. We highlighted the Smith Falls and District Crime Stoppers program as well. And of course, our Special Olympics, who are charity of choice with the OACP, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. And we're very fond of our Special Olympic athletes. Crime prevention, we highlight in there, designating officers. Ashley Ferrier just did the CEPTEB program, which is crime prevention through environmental design. So she's able to go to businesses or homes to kind of give them ideas or suggestions on how to crime-proof their home. We highlighted some of our calls for service, highlighted our crime unit. Sorry, I'll get through quickly. Some challenges that we face, as well as our IPV charges and what we see going on. Page 32 is our high-risk offender and bail reform. We are, this year, we're setting up a bail dashboard, which is going to be another technology piece that we'll have to see which high-risk offenders are in our community. A lot of times, other services will have high-risk offenders moving into Smith Falls and we won't know they're here. This technology piece will allow us to see if, say, someone's released from Ottawa with gun charges and they move to Smith Falls, we're going to be able to see where they live and what their conditions are so that we can do the active compliance check. So I'm excited to see that rolling out. There's a few of them that are going to get trained on it shortly. We have officers in charge of the Ontario Sex Offender Trafficker Registry. It's a Christopher's Law Sex Offender Act, and all the sex offenders in our community have to register with us, and we check for compliance. We visit their homes and we make sure that they're in compliance with their conditions of their release. You will have seen last year we put out a public safety alert that if there is somebody who is a high-risk offender or a high-risk sex offender about to be committing an offense, or we believe that they strongly will commit another offense, the chief has the authority to send out a public alert, which we have done. Missing Person Act, anything that we do to find missing people, such as phone pings or records, we do post it on our annual report, that we make those public of every time that we do that. Collection of identifying information in certain circumstances, and the VI-class, we post that as well. Mobile Crisis Response Team, we've got that information. Any public complaints that we deal with, we put that information on as well as our annual report. Secondary activities, all the courses that officers have taken, our use of force statistics, page 44 and 45. It explains the Ontario Public Police Interactions Training Aid is what police are trained by. We have a cadre of instructors who we go through mandatory training every year on de-escalation techniques and mental health training. And then we post our reports whenever a firearm is displayed. And the only time a firearm was used was to dispatch an animal, unfortunately, from a car accident. We also have all of our vehicle fleet information, our vehicle stats, road safety stats, and our calls for service. The rest is all to do with accident reports, which is all at the end for all of our quarterly reports. Any questions?
Thank you.
I breezed through that quickly. So.
Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Chief. I got to say, I'm totally blown away. And thank you to the officers that are present here. But, you know, I think that hopefully people are watching this to understand how I think lucky we are. We have 24/7 protection in our town. You've done an under budget. You've secured hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants. And I feel very safe with our police force. So thank you.
Yeah, I was also going to mention too. There's two officers. We'll definitely want to hear. I look in this room right now with these men and women here. All of them could be commended for something. They've all been commended for something: bravery, running into buildings that have burnt. You know, you've got the Sergeant King Medal of Bravery. I have an officer here that saved a man's life. He tried to commit suicide just behind the curling club. Our officers were first to respond, saved his life by putting pressure to the area. He tried to harm himself. There's so many behind the scenes, and so last week I decided, you know what, I'm going to really highlight the behind the scenes things that public doesn't necessarily hear, and it certainly is part of the conversation that we speak of as the board, because you know, you can't compare us to a provincial police service. You'll never compare us to a provincial police service. We're very, very different. And, you know, ignore the ChatGPT nonsense that you've seen on Facebook, because I'm not even sure. Like, I was shown that, and it's nonsense. But I just look at the men and women that are here and that respond quickly within 2 minutes of calls, and that's the data that we have. And that, you know, even the spray painting incident, you look at how quickly that these young officers solved that case. They were at another call for service, and it's funny because somebody had said, well, like, you know, how come they can't see this going on? Well, they can't be everywhere, just like any other police service. We can't be at every location, but they went from another incident, they went directly to here. They then tracked down the cameras and had this resolved within a week. And everybody was from out of town. And so it takes some time to get them into custody, and then it takes time to put the press release out. But, you know, every morning I wake up, I see the briefing, and I know that they are, you know, they do so much for this community that's a lot behind the scenes that they need to be recognized for, and more than just dollars and cents. Absolutely.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Chief. So I just want to say how grateful I am that you are our first female chief. I'm a little alarmed by the 20% number that you quoted in terms of females being involved in our police services in Ontario. We have work to do. And so I'm really glad to see the female faces in this audience. And I know we have work to do at our council table and in our communities. And if people are watching today, I would just like to encourage young women to get involved. And I'm really, really glad that you're doing the Yippee program again. I know there's been young women involved in that. And I know that that Sean Keoghan has been an inspiration to those young women to get involved. So just thank you.
Well, I think it's important too, because there's a lot of bias with male and female, like for especially in police officers, they think of one ways with females and one way with males. But I look in this room, the men that I work with are the most compassionate men that I would ever have the pleasure of working with in my life. And I know that there's always like videos or people see things, but behind the scenes, I came to one call 2 weeks ago of a person, it was an elderly person that had fallen in their tub. And of course, the landlord had called, they hadn't heard from them in a while. And so I happened to be around the corner. So when I came in, there was Constable Simmons on his knees with a blanket over this poor woman that I probably had been there for a while. She was still barely alive, and just reassuring her. And it just like right there in my heart, because I just think that sometimes these officers get a bad rap publicly. Sorry, it's just my voice. And I just think that if you really saw what goes on in our community and saw what these men and women are doing, especially in our civilian staff, having to talk people down from, harming themselves until police get there or help gets there. We seem to be everything to everybody, a teacher, a counselor, this. But to see that compassion for the men in this room has been unbelievable. And I think that, and rightfully so, I've been treated differently as a female. They probably get treated differently as a male, but we balance each other well, because some women will be good with them, but not good with us, but vice versa. So we balance each other well. So yes, we need to have, but we seem to have a good balance. So.
Councillor McKenna.
Thanks very much, Chief. This is, in 8 years, this is the most comprehensive annual report I've seen, and it's really impressive. And I want to thank you and your entire staff, civilian and the officers, for their professionalism and the hard work and the data shows. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKenna.
Mayor Benko.
Thanks, Chief. Put it on my board hat, I guess, for a moment. I go back to roughly 2 years ago. We knew the service is struggling. We knew that maybe it wasn't the greatest place to work. We were short-staffed, and thanks to you and Deputy Kettle advocating on behalf of everybody in this room that was here before and setting a tone for the future and advocating the need to invest in personnel. And the board made a decision that we wanted to be the employer of choice. We wanted to make sure you could hire the best possible personnel to serve our community. And put my mayor hat back on. We supported that. And we recognize the value that the service brings to our community. And I guess what we see tonight in the report and the people here and what you've mentioned, it was a great investment. And you've been able to hire exemplary people that will look after our community for decades after you retire. And I guess I presume this is probably your last annual report unless something changes.
But yes, it is. Yeah.
Thank you obviously for your 32 years, I guess, of service. And I guess the last word to you, I guess, just having been your boots in the street of this town and homes in this town and businesses in this town for your entire working career, and worked yourself up through the ranks. Any final words of advice?
To them, to the officers, or anybody? Oh, I think
Really open-ended.
Well, words of advice is to look after yourself first, because no one's going to do it for you. Like, I think that we've been really open on more mental health than we ever did as young officers. We never even thought about that. Working nights, kids, everything else. And then when you get to be my age and you're like, oh, my back is so sore. But no, look after, I think we talk more about mental resilience and looking after ourselves more. And I think that that's really important, is taking care of yourself physically and mentally. for sure. But I think they see the value of this small town police service because they get to know the people. And I think they know that that's been my messaging, is get to know everybody in your community, because even if they struggle and deal with us 10 times, that 11th time, they might thank those officers for getting them out of a dark place. And that nice letter that the person wrote to us that we posted on Facebook, there was a prime example of things that you just don't know how you affect people. And but they've got to look after themselves first. They come first, their families come first. Shut your mind off when you go home and try not to let the noise kind of affect you.
And okay to get help, okay to ask for help.
Yeah, it's okay. Yep, that's what benefits are for. Absolutely. Yep.
Thanks again, Chief.
Thank you all for your support.
Councillor Quinn, did you?
Thank you. And I hear what you're saying about criticism. Don't take it to heart. We sit around this table and you can't believe sometimes what people say about us and what we do. So please don't take it to heart. There's a lot of people that think what you're doing is wonderful.
Oh yeah.
So don't
We have
worry
broad
about the
shoulders,
criticism.
and that's why I don't join some of those Facebook groups.
And going to the schools,
Yep.
wonderful. Because you have to teach young people, these are police officers. They're here to help you. They're not here to hurt you. And so you're taking the right step there. That's very, very important. And I'm going to do a shout out to Constable Carling Fraser, because she came to our house.
She's here.
The night that someone tried to steal my husband's truck. And she was fantastic. How she sat in the kitchen, how she just kept us calm and explained things to us. And it was wonderful to have somebody there that could be like that, because we were sort of like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
And so there you go.
That's nice to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any CO director's reports this evening?
Mr. Chair, we have two brief ones, I can assure you, starting with our Manager of Economic Development.
Great.
That's a hard act to follow. Not that I'm kicking you out. Just a quick update on the Business Retention and Expansion Program. I've mentioned it briefly in prior remarks. We have a handout, I believe, that's been shared around, or it's coming around. So this is an initiative being led by Lanark County. The town of Perth and Lanark County both received funding to conduct a business retention and expansion study, and we are included in the Lanark County study. We've had a training session with elected officials, staff, and representatives of businesses in the area. And we've got a team pulled together, including our Small Business Advisory Committee staff and our Economic Development staff. So there was a presentation by the coordinator, Tim Woods, to the Chamber's Economic Development Committee last week that was very well received. And as a result, we have planned another training session in our Welcome Center on July the 8th, Wednesday, from 6 to 8, with refreshments led by Tim Woods, the BRNE coordinator, and there will be a board member of the DBA and a board member of the Chamber, both intending to participate in the study as a volunteer conducting surveys. So if you're interested in joining that session, let me know so we have enough treats on hand for you. We'll have the coordinator, Tim, present to Committee of the Whole at some point in the future as we progress through the survey stages and analysis. And our team will be conducting surveys through the summer and fall. And this will help to inform both our destination planning process and our economic development strategy that will incorporate visitor attraction as a key pillar. Any questions at all?
You seeing no? Thank you. All right, CO Morse.
Yes, so just a very brief update. This past Saturday was the annual Paddle Fest event at Lower Reach Park. The event began in 2014 and has run every year except 2020 when that little pandemic visited upon us. So it was a great event. We had 4 teams participating. The town of Smith Falls was one of those 4. We were capably led with the pace of our paddling by Councillor McGuire. And we won our first heat quite handily by a second, I think. And in canoeing, a second's a long period of time. And we went to the final, and we were outpaced by a very aggressive team from the Functional Performance Fitness. So our paddles go up to them. They were an exceptional team. But the point wasn't just winning. It was about having fun and enjoying our water and being out on the water. It's a different perspective of a town when you get out in the water. They had vendors there and dancers, and we had an Indigenous person there that opened the event up. So it was a really fun day. I would encourage anyone to participate in future years, and we're always looking for paddlers for Team Smiths Falls. So thank you.
Thanks, CEO Morris. So with that, we'll move on to our new 9.1 process to request an OPP costing report with CEO Morris. Or
I think our clerk's got this one.
okay.
So as council will recall, back on April 27th, Councillor McKenna requested that council just simply look at the process for an OPP costing. So that's what's before you this evening in your report. It's an information report. It's a multi-step process, as you can see. The first one is a passing of a council resolution. Obviously, there'd be some homework to do before that. Before that would be to take place, to look at some of the data. The second would be to submit that resolution to the Solicitor General. At that point, the Solicitor General would make a decision whether they're going to allow for a costing and proceed down that road. If they do, they produce what's called a policing resource plan. And I've been told that that can take up to a year to come to fruition. After that, if there's some community consultation and discussion around the horseshoe that would take place. And then if council concurs, there would be finalization of an agreement. So that's just being brought to you this evening for information purposes.
Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Clerk Costello, for bringing this forward, and for Director Dauber as well. And as my motion said, it's come up over the years many, many times. And like the police services, I don't listen to some of the nonsense on Facebook to get my facts, because everybody's saying it's so simple, we should just do it. And no one knows what they're talking about to find the facts on how you actually do this. And it's come up at every budget consultation process survey from the public. And there's some really thoughtful people, not on Facebook, but through that consultation that we do with our budget process, offering suggestions, asking good questions. And we hadn't ever put these process out to the public. And I can guarantee it will be part of the municipal debate discussion as these elections go forward. And what I really didn't want to see was uninformed people either running or talking throughout the campaign about what should be done and how it could be done. So my intention here was to put some facts out on the table. There is a very, it looks like a clear process. It's timely. And I have no idea what the next council will do, if anything. But I certainly wanted the debate during the election to be informed. I think with the chief's annual report and this type of information, we try to take the rhetoric and emotion and the misinformation out of this discussion and put the facts out. So that was the intention. This satisfies me as a municipal councillor that I understand the process. It won't be me making the decision to do it. And I hope others who are interested in this topic will read this, understand it, and also read the chief's report and get their information from fact-based. So thanks very much to staff. This, we're receiving it tonight. It satisfies my original intention, and I thank staff for providing.
Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, thanks for doing this research. I think that you've got 6 steps here. I think it's pretty simplistic. I think I would encourage anybody that wants to speak to this issue that is around this table to take the time and have a look and talk to police officers to look at the experiences in the past on what does happen and the risks involved, and to read the annual report that we just heard about, which really, I think, in my humble opinion, it's a different model than you would get with OPP. It's far superior. Is it expensive? Yes, it is. Is it worth it? Every penny. So, and also I would have a look at other communities who have gone down this road or tried to. And I don't know anyone in any other community in recent memory that actually have been granted a costing. And most recently, as I said, when this came up first, Sault Ste. Marie asked for a costing and was denied. And I think that their service at the time was in some trouble, and rightly so. The council of the day asked for some help, and I think that the ministry saw the value in a local force, and I think since then have offered help to that local force. So this is the way it works, but I think that there's a lot more nuances involved, and people should really do their research and get informed about it. This is just a process, and I think that when you find out what your service is going to be like and how much it's going to cost, in reality, you'll have no force because you've already disbanded. So be very careful in doing your research when you take a position on this issue. Thank you.
Councillor McKenna.
Thank you. I don't have any issue with Councillor Brennan's comments. I did mean to comment, the costing is critical. Our town has to provide a wide range of services, and we are under tremendous pressure, like all municipalities, with our much higher than the average public rate of inflation. And so we're trying to find water and sewer and all the other life equally important services as to the police services. So it's to try and find the balance. And so that's it. I didn't want to avoid talking about that. It's really important that the next council or during this municipal debate, when people start throwing out numbers, they know what they're talking about. Because you're going to hear, I'm sure, if you ignore the stuff on Facebook, but even in the debates, well-meaning people will start to talk about the costing. And we're over $20 million budget, and we have to balance. The council has an obligation to do this well, whoever. And as I say, I don't know what the next council will do, but it can't be ignored, the conversation. Where it leads, I have no idea.
Great. Thank you. Seeing no other hands up.
Thank you.
We'll move on
Sorry,
to.
if I just may, I just want to say one thing I've offered before for open house, and I'll offer again, anyone that's running for council or running for mayor. I'm happily available to have a conversation, a coffee with anybody. I just want to put that out there. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we'll move to 9.2, notice of intent to designate heritage properties with Mr. Granke. Oh, sorry. Well, Carl's Malcolm, do you want to do the strap line?
Sure, let's do the strat plan.
Clear the room every time.
Yeah.
They're leaving because you're coming.
Okay. Won't be daunted by that because we have a really important report. So this is the sixth in a series of biannual report outs for the strategic plan. So the strategic plan was approved by this council in July of 2023. This reporting is about giving an update on the progress we've made since we last reported out, which was January. So, Mr. Chair, perhaps, I know everyone's read the report. Just for those that are participating remotely, perhaps I'll just breeze through some of the highlights to give people a sense for what we've been working on. I would say that there are 6 priorities and there are 35 initiatives meant to support those 6 priorities. So we've been working away on each of the remaining ones, and I'll provide some overall figures for you at the end. So priority number one is transportation. The biggest one, the most prolific one that we completed in this reporting period was the Confederation Bridge. We've all seen it. We had a ribbon cutting on May 22nd. The only remaining piece to finish is the exterior lighting, which has been wired. We're waiting for the lights to arrive and be installed. So we expect that to happen this week. The other big one is the active transportation plan. It's actively being worked on. I expect we will have a report in 1 week's time on that subject. So look forward to that. The third big one is the transportation master plan, which was part of this overall strategic plan. It's been complete and it will form part of the official plan when it comes forward in the third quarter of this year. So we can check that one off as well. Priority 2 is housing. There were a lot of items. Many of them had been completed. The one that's been kind of idling, I would say, for some time is the residential information guide. That was one of the 17 recommendations coming from the former Housing Advisory Committee. So we've systematically worked away at the 17. 16 of them were finished. This is the final one, and we expect to have that for you before this term of council ends. It's being worked on presently. Priority 3 is waterfront and downtown. The big item there was the Heritage Conservation District, which we know has been completed. We're now turning our thoughts to the downtown revitalization and waterfront integration master plan. The original one was published in 2013, so a lot of the initiatives within that plan have been completed. So as you directed us through the strategic plan, we want to refresh it. So work has just started on that piece recently. Let's see, infrastructure renewal is priority number 4. Right now recently we've been working on 3 elements of the asset management plan. You'll recall last July, council approved the, legislated asset management plan that every municipality in the province needs. So we've done that. We're augmenting it with 3 additional studies, a building condition assessment that's been done. The ICT strategy, which you approved recently, is done. And we're working on a road and sidewalk needs analysis. All 3 of those operational plans will feed the asset management plan. So we intend to finish those and bring it forward to you before this term of council ends. The 5th priority area is new business attraction. So as Ingrid pointed out earlier, she's working on the destination plan. We're working on the BRE work. That will all coalesce into a strategic economic development plan. So that's what she's actively working on right now. The other one in infrastructure or new business is the Alto rail file. So we heard a little bit about that earlier today. As you know, council endorsed a strategic case that went to Alto through their public engagement process. The Minister of Transport was in Kingston earlier today and made an announcement to consider Kingston as a stop in a route. He didn't specify which one. So I think that leaves a bit of latitude for the folks at Alto to have a look at Kingston. That probably would change the dynamic for Smiths Falls, maybe for the better, maybe not. But the commitment was for Alto to make a decision on the alignment for the central route, the one from Montreal to Ottawa, by this fall, and the westerly route, which we would be part of, they're predicting next spring they would have a decision on the route. So still very fluid, and there's a lot of conversations going on. So, but in terms of our strategic plan, I would say we've checked the box. We've done what we set out to do. The rest is somewhat out of our hands. The last one, I'm really happy to announce strategic priority 6, parks, trails, and recreation. We've completed all 6 items within that bucket. So they are finished. So what does all that mean? Well, if we look kind of high level, there are 35 initiatives, as I mentioned. One of them is on hold, and that's the one related to pedestrian access across Hershey Drive. You'll recall when we approved this plan, Canopy was up and running. They had staff going between two of their facilities crossing Hershey Drive. They felt it was unsafe. Since they've consolidated their operations, that need no longer exists. However, we're keeping an open mind. Once Hershey opens up, there may be cross Hershey Drive traffic. If it is, we'll keep it in abeyance, and if it comes up again, we'll be ready to deal with it. But at this point, I would suggest to you there's nothing more that we need to do at this point. So that leaves 34. 17 of them have been complete. They're finished. That's 49%. 17 of them are in progress, which is means everything's underway. We expect by November or October, when we report out for the final time for this term of council, that 12 of those 17 will be finished. We're working actively on all 17. 12 should be finished, which will give us a success rate, a projected success rate or completion rate of 83%. So we will have accomplished 83% of what we set out to do in July of 2023. The 5 that we expect will remain are much larger projects. The former water treatment plant, as we know, the fire set us back, but we're still actively working on it. The Parks Canada site plan for Smiths Falls, we've developed a pretty good rapport and communication channels with Parks Canada. Ingrid and I just met with them the new acting director last week, so I think we've got some good momentum. Yeah, it's not going to be finished. They're looking at 2027 to finish the site plan for Smith Falls, but we're actively working with them to help support it. The Canal District development down at the former Frost and Wood site is a much longer term project than one term of council, but I can tell you that Ingrid, now that she's in place, is working on that file, so it is active. The availability of industrial land, serviced industrial land, we've been spending a lot of energy on that recently. We expect to bring a plan, I hope, to this council, if not the next one, on a servicing plan for the employment lands. That project has been held up. We need the official plan in place so we designate those lands before we build a plan to service them. But we've been working in unison between the OP and some of the servicing engineering stuff, transportation planning that we need to do to open up more employment land. And the last one I'll mention is the white paper on housing. So when you approved this plan, we hadn't yet completed some of the housing needs. That's been done. We have a report. And what we discovered is most of the initiatives within that plan do not require provincial approval or provincial funding for that matter. So we kind of recalibrated and looked at it, and we've been turning our energy to federal funding. So we've been working with CareBridge to understand where the federal funding exists, how we get that federal funding. The big project that we have in the queue is the Robinson Avenue property. So I will be bringing a report back in July to renew. We have a 5-year agreement to sell it to CareBridge. Shockingly, the 5 years is up in August, so we need to relook at that. But really, it's a funding issue. So I think we can kind of pivot a little bit and focus more energy on federal funding as opposed to what we initially thought would be a provincial funding ask. So although it's not finished, it's certainly in progress. So that covers all 35, and I'm happy to say we're on track and we'll be in a good position by the end of October. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Sue Morris. Questions, Councilor McKenna?
I'll never resist the opportunity to talk about strategic planning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not only are you happy, as I am as well, but you should be very proud of the work. This is only what the Priorities Council and staff established 4 years ago. It's not all of the other work that goes on, including, I think, 3 of the director's positions, your senior staff, happened in the last 4 years. So that not only have the staff achieved this, but they've done it under very inflationary times with a terrific team. So I'm very pleased, and anybody considering, again, this is a theme, running for council, without a plan, without a list of priorities that council if you listen to your professional staff with their input, the council can set these priorities. They're achievable. Some of them are very aspirational. Some of them are very practical. And I'm just really proud of the work that we've all done together on the progress here. I'm an incrementalist, and if I look back over the years, just how the community has benefited from solid planning, really wonderful staff, key investments, upper level investments have been critical. And listening to our community, I think it's a good recipe for municipalities to get things done over a period of time. And I can hardly wait to see the final result, but I'm confident that we'll all get there together. Thank you.
I think, I definitely agree with Councillor McKenna's comments. The only one that really stands out to me that I think needs to be noted is the active transportation plan, because we've had that for this whole term of council. The implementation plan now, it's just plan after plan, 3 years late. And the gains in that area have been really modest over the last 4 years. So I'm disappointed that we weren't able to get more traction on that after having that plan come forward. And I'm disappointed that there's still disagreements happening between groups like the Accessibility Committee and the Department of Public Works on how we're designing our spaces and our intersections and our connectivity. So I'm looking forward to getting that in the next few weeks. And it's just unfortunate that we haven't been able to carry it out. I'm not seeing any other questions, comments.
Good.
With that, so we'll move on to 9.2 with notice of intent to designate heritage properties with Mr. Grinke.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff are bringing forward on behalf of the Municipal Heritage Committee a recommendation that Council takes the first formal steps in designating 8 properties. All of these properties are currently listed on the town's heritage register as properties of interest, meaning that Council has previously identified the potential heritage significance on these places. The town's heritage register includes properties that are both designated, meaning their historical attributes are formally identified and protected, and also non-designated or listed properties. The listed properties are often viewed as candidates for future designation, however enjoy no formal heritage protection other than a 60-day pause on demolition if a demolition application is received. Since the province amended the Heritage Act in order to put a time limit on the listing of properties, the Municipal Heritage Committee has been hard at work identifying and prioritizing the current listed properties for consideration for designation. Any property currently on the register that is not planned for designation by January 21st of next year would automatically be removed from the list and cannot be re-added for 5 years, thereby losing that protection. In this case, the Municipal Heritage Committee decided to focus on properties that are outside the new Heritage Conservation District. As Council will recall, the boundaries of the Heritage Conservation District were based on its role and status as a representative example of traditional Main Street commercial corridor, namely that the cultural heritage value of the collection of the buildings exceeded the sum and heritage significance of each one on their own. The HCD study recognized that there are many properties of heritage value adjacent to the district that weren't included in it, not because they didn't have heritage significance, but because they're not associated with the defined purpose and contiguous geography of the HCD. The HCD study identified 17 properties that sit within a block or two of the HCD that are recommended for consideration for individual designation. Several of those properties are being presented this evening, along with several other properties that are a little bit further away. The Heritage Committee and staff undertook a substantial array of outreach and consultation with the owners of all of the listed properties over the course of more than a year, and that's detailed in the report. Through the outreach, we invited owners to meet with staff and committee members to discuss any questions they may have regarding designation, and also make a mention of the new Community Improvement Plan program that offers some financial assistance to restoration projects on designated properties. While several productive conversations were held, some owners were still not sold on designation and others did not respond to the outreach. While designation decisions are ultimately Council's, the committee's role is to make recommendations to Council about which properties should be considered. In this case, and after much deliberation, MHC determined that the public interest in protecting some of these properties and the statutory deadline in front of us meant that there was some urgency and they wanted to proceed with recommending designations. As such, the committee passed a resolution recommending the council proceeds to consider designating commercial or properties used for multi-residential properties first. And there's also a single detached dwelling on the list where the owners are enthusiastic about designation, and we're pleased to add that to the recommendation as well. And just to confirm, designation does not restrict the owners from making any or all repairs to their properties. However, if the renovations or repairs alter what is listed as a designated feature, then that would need to be approved by council. The report provides a description of each of the properties recommended for designation, along with draft heritage attributes, which can form part of a future designation bylaw. These appendices were reviewed by our new heritage consultants, who agree that the properties appear to meet the designation criteria set out under the Heritage Act. If council were to support the recommendation and direct the issuance of notices of intent to designate, that would not commit council to actually designating these properties. This step essentially unlocks the beginning of the formal statutory process. Once the notices are issued, property owners have the right to object within 30 days of the issuance of the notice, and should objections be received, then council will have the opportunity to consider the objection and then decide if they want to proceed with the designation. Like most decisions under the Heritage Act or Planning Act, that decision can be appealed. This report and recommendation reflects the beginning and not the end of the statutory process. The consultation and outreach that staff and MHC members have done to date is above and beyond what the Act requires. And it's good practice. It's something we would continue wanting to do before we brought any future recommendations to council as well. So I'd like to acknowledge the work of the MHC and planning staff in working with property owners. This collaborative spirit is not just on this case, but over the years has served heritage protection well, and MHC has rightly taken pride in that. So while the legislative calendar spotlights this research and the timing, the properties presented this evening do represent an important cross-section of properties that define the town's history and place, and we'll welcome council's direction as it relates to this list. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good, thank you, Carl. Not seeing hands up, so I'll start. Very supportive of the recommendation. This is a spinoff from the HCD boundary discussion, where the consultants recommended to us to focus on certain individual properties and then keep the boundary relatively conservative. So this directly spins off of that. It's really timely with the province changing the regulation on the properties of interest list. So the Heritage Committee and Marie Elmsley, the planning clerk, has really been working hard to get this information compiled and organized and to council tonight. They recognize that there's a higher risk with investment properties and commercial properties. If we look at our heritage buildings over the last 50 years in Smith Falls, they're much more likely to have fires. They're much more likely to have demolitions and changes happen to them that removes the character. So with all that considered, the Municipal Heritage Committee and the consultants both agree that it's really important to get these intents to designate out and keep moving forward. Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the report. And we all know these properties for many years. I'm not a big fan of designating a property where the owner of the property objects. So, and I think I've spoken to this, I think in the last term of council. So if you can explain to me, and I think I just heard it from you, that a designation, it's just a recommendation at this point. So for instance, if one of the addresses here who oppose their designation, they have an opportunity to come to council and plead their case, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, under the Heritage Act, they have the right to formally object, and then that objection is brought forward for council's consideration in open session, and then at that point, council can decide whether to proceed with the designation.
Right. And so I was reading today, for instance, I know other municipalities are doing the same thing because of the timeline and that sort of thing. But I was reading today that one property in Elmont, which happens to be the Legion, was presented with this, and they've already come to council to object. And they've in fact been told, as I read, by their insurance company that their rates are going to go up. So I know that in your report you intimate that the insurance industry has become attuned to this, but that's another concern. And as I said, I'm not a real big fan. I'm not a fan of imposing a designation on a property owner who does not want one. So,
Councillor Robinson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Of the 7 properties listed being considered for heritage designation, there's only 2 owners that have expressed support. The remaining owners have either indicated opposition or have not responded. That suggests there is not broad support among the affected property owners. These are privately owned residential properties. While heritage preservation is important, designation can have long-term implications for owners. So because of that, the wishes of property owners should be given considerable consideration. We all value the history of our community. However, the responsibility for maintaining and preserving a private property rests with its owner. If they don't want to pursue heritage designation, then we should seriously consider that. And one of the fundamental principles of our society is the ability of individuals to make decisions about their own property within existing laws and regulations. And many residents feel that personal choice is being reduced as governments and committees make more involved decisions that directly affect their properties. So history is important, but so is respecting the rights and choices of the residents who own and maintain these properties. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Robinson. Not seeing other hands up, I'm just going to respond to that the Municipal Heritage Committee agrees with private residential properties, and that's why they're not included in this list. What we're talking about is multi-unit commercial buildings that are often owned by out-of-town investors that we've been unable to get in contact with. So I don't know that those remarks accurately reflect the efforts that the Murray Elmsley has put into this, but or what's being presented tonight. And I think it's important to note too that sending these letters is not a designation. It's just a notice of intent to designate, which moves it to the next stage. Councillor Miller, I saw your hand up.
Thank you. I think it's really well summarized in the purpose of your report, which speaks to the need to be designated by 2027, or we'll lose our ability to list them for 5 years and to protect them from demolition. And so I just want to thank Marie, of course, but the Municipal Heritage Committee, and I support your recommendation.
Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, I support the recommendations as well for the reasons as laid out. Municipalities and provincial governments have been dictating zoning bylaws and what people can do with their property forever since municipalities were created. This is nothing new. I agree that some people might think that we go too far. However, this is not at this point, and I would love to hear from people if we pass this who have a different opinion, and we have a process to hear them out. And but I support this report as presented tonight.
Rapinko.
Sure, I will as well. I'm not going to reiterate what's been said, but again, it's a step in the direction. Say a step in the right direction. We'll deal with any opposition that comes forward out of this. Knowing the property owners have been, like I said, have been contacted repeatedly, at least received letters, so there should be nothing new to them. Only question for Carl: are there more properties of interest that you see coming forward for designation?
Mr. Chair, there's a number of properties are not included on this report that we've made attempts to contact or to achieve buy-in for single-family homes. So we will continue to make outreach from that as we get closer to the deadline. So if we were to, MHC decided to focus on the investment in the commercial properties. However, if we do get buy-in from some of the listed properties, some of the listed single-attached properties, then those will be presented to council. At this point, MHC is not looking to make recommendations on private, on individual, on single detached homes that where the owners are opposed to designation. So at this point, we're focusing on those that are listed. Once once that deadline passes, and I think we've gotten to where we need to with the listed properties, then certainly the Heritage Committee through the next, I guess it would be in the next term of council, the next iteration of the Municipal Heritage Committee may take the opportunity to look at additional properties throughout the town for potential consideration.
Thank you.
Great. Seeing no other hands up, we've got direction to move forward with that. So we'll look forward to it coming to a council meeting. Thank you, Carl. And then we'll move on to 9.4, updated downtown core design guidelines. Is that, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, B. I forgot about B. I will pass it to, is it Councillor Brennan? All right, thank you.
So this will be quick. I'm just getting the address. So Councillor McGuire has declared a conflict on, I believe it's 102 Brockville Street, and and they're open to this initiative. So I guess thumbs up. And
Yeah, to include them in the.
yeah. So I don't know if when you do bring this to council, you'll do two separate motions, one to include everybody else and then one to include 102 Brockville.
Yeah, it'll be
So
two
then
separate.
Councilor McGuire can participate. Okay.
Good.
And we can call him back. Yep.
All right, thank you, Councillor Brennan. 9.4 then with Richard Grant.
Good afternoon, Council. This marks the second update to Downtown Core Design Guidelines. The guidelines were updated in response to the new Heritage Conservation District in the downtown area and to be in alignment with the forthcoming official plan, and to support the Community Improvement Plan, which has an open intake this fall. The guidelines were designed to be used as a reference to guide commercial development in the downtown area and to not duplicate or conflict with the Heritage Conservation District plan in place. The Heritage Conservation District plan provides regulatory direction, while the guidelines provide more flexible, design-focused guidance that can be applied across a wider range of properties and conditions. So here are the few key changes. We added design recommendations for residential to commercial conversions in the downtown area. And so this would be particularly important to properties that are in the downtown fringe that have a higher proportion of residential properties. We also simplified the document structure where we consolidated the principles and removed the goals to make the document easier to use and to interpret. We also updated the glossary with more plain language terms, which include more common heritage features such as coins or cornices, so users can better understand what is being referenced. And fourth, we introduced the design guidelines application checklist to act as a pre-flight checklist for our users when they are in the early design phase of their process. Overall, the guidelines are designed to be used as a reference and not as a rigid rulebook. They aim to balance practical recommendations with more aspirational design outcomes in a downtown area.
Great, thank you. Questions, comments?
Supportive.
Thumbs up.
Well done.
I think I'd like to send it to the Municipal Heritage Committee for a review before we approve it at council, because there was a lot of comments and suggestions made at the MHC meeting, but then it didn't go back. This final version hasn't been circulated with the Municipal Heritage Committee. And since they're the ones that are going to be approving these or doing work on the heritage application permits, I think it's a key stakeholder to get a copy of the final version. Councillor McKenna?
But they had input into it. And do you see anything that they had input into that is not?
Yeah, some of the language
Like
with
significant.
some of the language isn't consistent with the Heritage Conservation District plan. So that'd be an example of. I think it's important we get that streamlined, because it's if you call it one thing in one document and another thing in another document, it's it just creates that room for interpretation.
Can I ask staff how time sensitive it is? Can you have?
If we were to take it back, we would be looking at a timeline of the 22nd or 27th of July if we're bringing it back to council's consideration.
Of July.
Yeah. So the intent is that we would be seeing MHC the 14th of July, so they'd have an opportunity for it to go back on their agenda. Then afterwards, they have the feedback commenting period, and then it comes back to council. That's sort of the
Sure,
logic
I'm
here.
fine with that.
Great. So seeing no other questions, comments, thank you very much. It's a great, a big amount of work invested compared to the last version. I think what it's from 8 pages to 30 pages. So.
Yeah, so we're shrinking it down slowly.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. With that, we've got 2 in-camera items. We'll take a motion to move in camera. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Robinson, that we move in camera at section 239 2E of the Municipal Act to discuss the litigation matter. All in favor? That's carried at 6:37.
You don't want to do it?
me almost 8 years ago to the Rideau Landscape Corridor, and I attended my first meeting just this week at the Kinsman Pavilion. And it's not because I've been missing them, they're dormant. And this is a Parks Canada, it's a requirement when we receive the UNESCO designation for the, and it's got an odd name. They're already considering finding a better name other than Landscape Corridor. The idea is like UNESCO expects the vitality that that is around the canal, off of the canal proper into the communities surrounding, all from Kingston to Ottawa, to any significant change that would alter the feel and look of the canal as a World Heritage Site has to go through a process. So the ALTO is something that has the potential to alter the look and feel of the canal, to be bridges perhaps over the canal. So that somehow has come to the attention of the UNESCO, and thus we're meeting to talk. That isn't the only reason. The other big, so I attended my first meeting at the Kinsman along with Ingrid and Carl, which is great. It's half municipal people and a lot of municipal planners up and down the corridor are part of the attendance. Vice President, acting President of John.
What's his Finisteri?
Festorini?
Festorini.
He was
Thinking of the past.
kind of leading that group discussion. So what's really important, I'll just give you the high level, is obviously the canal is coming up on the 200th anniversary in 2032. They've indicated they will not have the same resources they had for the 175th canal celebration, but they will have some. They're looking for legacy projects, and come to mind is our dormant canal combined lock was one that came to my mind, and there may be others. So this is an important, more important than I expected, opportunity to influence not just Parks Canada, but the committee requires the input of everybody that has conservation authorities are there as well. So it's a pretty important group, and they will have, there are grants available from Heritage Canada if communities have ideas on how they want to celebrate the 200th anniversary in leading up to that. And Smith Falls should play we should have something to say about that. So I will be coming back to you or seeking input probably with staff. And I know Ingrid and Carl will as well on what, because we're going to meet again in January. These will be part of the conversation is how do we want to have a say in the legacy of the canal on the 200th anniversary? What is our town's view of that? So it'll be terrific. And the last thing I'll say is that nobody wanted to chair it. So yours truly put his hand up, knowing that come October, it's full of municipal reps. We know it's going to be probably the makeup of the committee won't change because of the election. But in the interim, I'll help Susan Miller from Parks Canada drive the next meeting and set up the agenda. But I wanted to let you know there's a 2-pager describing what the committee is. And it's the first time I've seen it. So I'll send it out to you or get an email. It's an easy read, but for me, I had low expectations going into that meeting, and I was really pleasantly surprised at the opportunities for our community and for our beloved canal up and down. So that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. So, and then for 11.1, the resident report is that we gave staff direction regarding a litigation matter. And for 11.2, the resident report is that we discussed committee appointments that'll come forward at a future council meeting. We've got 12.1 is the community plan for safety and well-being that's going to come up on our July 27th committee of the whole agenda. Anything on that for now? Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I represent the council and the town on that committee, along with Chief Empey. And Lanark County has their own rep. And then there's a number of services. It's a long report, but please take the time to read it. Stephanie Gray will come and walk you through the Coles Notes version in late July. But what it is, really, this has real traction. It's legislative required, you'll know that. And we have to post it on our website and report to the ministry on our progress. But what we're doing, and we've been quite successful, is making Lanark County and Smith Falls a better place. By doing this, it's really looking at the health and well-being of all the residents. And once we get Lanark County and Smith Falls in a better place, making their world a better place, there's no stopping us, right? We can make the whole world a much better place, a much kinder place. So this is like our earlier strategic plan. This is a very detailed plan on how we'll actually move those markers. So please read it. And I look forward to having Ms. Gray come in and talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any notice of motions tonight? I'll take a motion to adjourn by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that the committee adjourn its proceedings at 7:02 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called committee meeting. All in favor? That's carried.